Alright, hey guys, my name is Jordan, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video. I have filmed a couple in the past, but ended up not posting them for whatever reason. So here I am, and I'm finally deciding to do this YouTube thing I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I have a book Instagram account, which is at Fridays in Books. I'll link it down below so you guys can follow or look at my pictures or whatever if you like. I always usually bring a book with me somewhere, wherever I go, because I'm one of those people. It's like Rory Gilmore, if you guys ever watch the Gilmore Girls, how she kind of always brings a book with her no matter where she goes. Like I remember in one of the first episodes, first or second season, she goes on like this fancy date with her boyfriend, Dean, and he asks her what her date book is because he knows that she always brings a book, even on a nice like romantic third-month date or whatever they were doing. So anyway, even though I kind of got off topic there, we are here for a reason. I'm here to talk about this. Can't decide what book or what side I'm gonna go to. We're here to talk about this magnificent book that I'm holding in my hands. This is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. It is the first book in a trilogy. The Dark Artifices, I think is how you say that, yeah? Oh, that's something I'm going to tell you guys. I am not a very good pronouncer of things. It seems like whenever I read a book, I mean, a lot of books make up words or whatever, or names I've never heard before, and I pronounce them a certain way in my head, but when I hear someone else say them, I'm like, what are they talking about? Or I'm like, holy crap, is that how you're supposed to say it? Like, I have no idea. So if I accidentally mispronounce things frequently, character names, author names, place names, I apologize now. And if you guys are if one of you is that kind of person who just likes to correct things, you can feel free to comment below and tell me how you're actually supposed to say it. Just put it, like pronounce it out, and I would actually appreciate that if you know how to say it, because that way I won't continue to embarrass myself. But anyway, so this book is amazing. I'm gonna do a spoiler-free review, and obviously we're gonna do some chatting because I like to talk. So I'm not a big believer in preventing spoilers. I mean, I know some people hate spoilers, and I totally respect you guys for hating spoilers, but I personally don't mind that much if something gets spoiled for me. It kind of depends on what it is. If I'm reading a book that feels like it's going to be sad, sometimes I want to know if a character is going to die or something like that, because that way it feels like I can mentally prepare myself. But if it's something smaller or something happy, I guess, I don't know. I'm sort of a situational spoiler. So anyway, I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but I'm going to kind of do this review based on you guys having read The Mortal Instruments and The Infernal Devices, also by Cassandra Clare, because if you don't know anything about the Shadowhunter books, and you probably don't know, but if you do know something about them, then you do know that all of the Shadowhunter novels that Cassandra Clare writes are all in the same universe. And they just sort of follow a timeline. So the first books were The Mortal Instruments, and they are set, I think, in 2007. And then as she was writing those, she also started writing the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is my favorite trilogy of all time. It's magical and I love it. But that's beside the point. That trilogy is based in the I'm gonna get this wrong. I think it's the 1890s. No, the 1880s. It's gotta be the 1880s, I think. And that makes me seem like I don't know anything, because I just said it's like one of my favorite trilogies, and I don't even remember what time frame it is. But anyway, and Lady Midnight is based in the same world, but it is 5 years after the final book in the Mortal Instruments series, which is The City of Heavenly Fire, and so that brings us to 2012. I'm one of those people who counts on my fingers, so that's me counting out 5 years from 2007. And I think at the beginning of this book it tells you what year it starts in, but oh yeah, Los Angeles 2012. I don't know if you guys can read that, but in the prologue. So anyway, that would have been easier, but it's fine. Math is good, I guess. That's what they tell me. Okay. So Lady Midnight is 5 years after the events of City of Heavenly Fire, and if you have read The Mortal Instruments and or The Infernal Devices, then I think you will get a lot more out of Lady Midnight. It's not a book that you can't enjoy if you haven't read the other series, but since it is all in the same universe, and Cassandra Clare is lovely, she includes characters from past books and family lines that have like generations before that we read about, and now their descendants in these new books that she writes. So to me personally, if anybody asks me how you should read her books, I always tell them to read the first 3 books of The Mortal Instruments, which is City of Bones, City of Ash, and City of Glass. Sorry, they're right here on my shelf, so I was just double checking. It's not that I don't know, but I'm on camera and it feels like, what if I say it wrong? But anyway, so I say you should read the first 3 of The Mortal Instruments, then read all of the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess, and then read the last 3 books of the Mortal Instruments series, which is City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. I feel like that is the best way to read them to get like maximum knowledge out of the books and also avoid spoilers, because there are spoilers from the end of the Infernal Devices in City of Heavenly Fire. So if you don't want to know anything about the end of the Infernal Devices series, then don't read City of Heavenly Fire first, because you will get small, semi-mild, I don't know, I wouldn't say small, but sort of small, depending on who you are, spoilers. So let's talk about the things from Lady Midnight that I loved. First thing, Julian and Emma's relationship. Oh man, I loved it. I love everything about it. I love how much they care for each other. I love how they interact with each other. I love their humor. It's different kind of humor a little bit than The Mortal Instruments, because I feel like people in mostly Chase and Simon a little bit in the Mortal Instruments series are more sarcastic, and which I love about them, but it's a little bit different humor in Lady Midnight. It's like, I don't know, a little more, not more clever, but punny. I don't know how to explain it, but it's different, and I like it. I kind of found it obviously still humorous because I laughed out loud a few times reading, but it was also kind of fresh. It didn't feel like the characters were kind of just being copied over from previous humor that she'd banked on in other series, you know what I mean? And I really enjoyed how much Julian cares for his younger siblings. Julian is a Blackthorn, and apparently Blackthorns have lots and lots of children. And so in events that happen in City of Heavenly Fire, he ends up losing both of his parents. And so he is the eldest brother, give or take, and he is put in the situation he's in. He's the eldest brother, and I just adore him for how much he loves his younger siblings. He just takes over into that father role, and even though he knows he's missing out on being a teenager and just enjoying being their brother, he also, like, he doesn't resent it at all. I mean, I don't know. I love it. I love him. I love everything about him. I think he's glorious. He's just right up there with all those other great book boyfriends. So I love him and Emma. I love their relationship. And also I've read that we're working on a ship name for them because, of course, they are meant to be together, because duh. But their ship name, I've heard straight from Cassandra Clare's Twitter, she's thinking Blackstairs because Emma is Emma Carstairs and Julian is Julian Blackthorn. So I really like that one. Gemma was another one, but I feel like that, I like it a lot, but I kind of like Blackstairs better because it's a little more unique to these characters. So comment down below if you have heard of a different ship name or which one of those you like better, because Cassandra Clare kind of put that out there, but she also knows her fan base and she knows that we'll pretty much decide whatever it's going to be. So I vote Blackstairs. You guys let me know what your vote is. Another thing that I really loved from this book was that we learn a lot more about the Parabatai bond. And I think I'm saying that right only because I've been watching the Shadowhunters TV show on Freeform, and that's how they say it. I'm pretty sure I always said it a little different in my head. I can't really remember how I said it now, but it was obviously wrong because I'm pretty sure that's how I say it in the series, and I'm hoping they consulted Cassie on how to say it. But anyway, I've always thought the Parabatai bond was really interesting. I always wanted to know more about it when I was reading the first Mortal Instruments books about Jason Alec and their Parabatai bond. And then when you read the Infernal Devices series, Will and Jem have a Parabatai bond as well, and they have something extra. I mean, those guys in the Infernal Devices, they are just full of love, and that's one of my favorite things about the series is that Jem, Tessa, and Will are not a love triangle. They just love each other so much. But that's beside the point here. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Lady Midnight. So anyway, so we've always kind of had the Parabatai bond like dangled around us, but we haven't actually learned a whole lot about it. And one of the sacred rules about the Parabatai bond, which is you are not allowed to be Parabatai and in love with each other. And I've always wondered why that is and like what could go wrong, why that would be important, because the whole point of being Parabatai is basically saying that person, I can't live without them. They make me a better version of myself. And I always feel like that's what you should look for in a significant other. So I always have wondered why that was a sacred rule from the Clave. And in Lady Midnight, you find out why. And whew, it's intense. But I really like that part as well, and I like a lot because this is the first time we've seen a boy and a girl be Parabatai together. Because before now it's like our main characters have been boys that are Parabatai with each other, so I liked that as well. Okay, and I also loved bringing the Shadowhunter world to LA. If you've read The Mortal Instruments, it's set in New York. The Infernal Devices is set in London, which I do love because I love that time period of London, but I think it's really fascinating. But also, you know, the beach, guys, and the beach is awesome, and Lady Midnight is right next to the beach, and I really like that the Institute is kind of like on the beach, like those Shadowhunters are like surf bums, you know? And I really like that, and I really actually like that Emma, this is just a teeny, like kind of a mild spoiler, I really like that she has a fear of the ocean, but she still appreciates it, because that's kind of the same way I am. I could live by the ocean, I could look at the ocean all day, I could walk along the ocean forever. I love it, and I think it's just, it makes you feel so small, and it makes you feel like put in your place, kind of insignificant, and I like that feeling that it gives you. But it's also so powerful and mysterious, and, you know, swimming in it scares me a little because you don't know what's under you, and you don't know what's out there. And I like that Emma has that fear because it makes her seem a lot less invincible than she otherwise would seem, because she's such a good shadow hunter and she is fearless pretty much. Another thing, Malcolm, the High Warlock of Los Angeles. I thought he was awesome. Magnus Bane has always been the warlock that I've looked to for warlock role models, and I thought Malcolm was awesome. He was really different, and I had a lot of different feelings about him while I was reading the book. And if you read the book, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But even at the end, you find out a lot of things about Malcolm, and there's a lot of sudden character development. And even through all that, I still liked him. His flaws were understandable, I guess, and it made me sympathize with him. So I'll just leave it at that. The last thing that I'll talk about, because I'm just talking about things that I love, because there was nothing about this book that I didn't like. It's definitely a 5-star book. I felt like it was probably the strongest series opener that Cassandra has written. I thought it was just really great. But I recommend it to all of you. Even if you haven't read the others, you should still read it. If you want to undertake a big marathon of book reading, then definitely read The Infernal Devices and The Mortal Instruments first. But if you just want to start out with a great book, this is a great book. But the thing that I was going to talk about is Mark Blackthorne. I really enjoyed him coming into this series. And when we read about him a little bit in The City of Heavenly Fire, you don't get a whole lot about him and what kind of person he is. But as you read Lady Midnight, you learn about the person he was, some, and how different that person is from the person he is now. And I really liked all the Fae knowledge and kind of culture that comes into this series, because before this, the Seelies and the Unseelies and the fairy world has been sort of elusive and mysterious. And it kind of comes in and it kind of goes out, and you kind of see the fairies, the Fae, however you're supposed to politically correctly say it. They've always been a little bit villainous, I guess. And this made them, Mark coming in made them feel less that way. It broadened my understanding, and it made me want to know more. So thank you guys so much for watching my channel. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. If you are a seasoned YouTuber and you have any advice for me, I would really appreciate it, because this is my first video and I'm still working on some things. But if you have any advice for me, please leave it down below. If you have any thoughts, if you have any questions, leave those down below as well. So thanks so much for watching. Bye!